Back to the saga of my Husqvarna 435. When I went to start it the other day, the pull start assembly here popped out, and when I got to looking at it, it was these two screws that were missing out of it. I I went on a quest to find those screws. I didn't think they could cost that much, but evidently from Husqvarna they cost $3.99 a piece, and it was going to take some days to get them, and I think I was going to have to pay for shipping too. So I started calling around. We called a local saw shop, local-ish saw shop, and they would sell them to me for the low price of $5.99. So we kept calling around and looking around. We went to a couple of different shops, and we ended up at a saw shop. Well, it was a small engine shop in Morrilton, Arkansas, and it was called Ron's Small Engines, I think was the name of it. And went in and talked to Ron. Ron was a real nice guy. He had a couple of Husqvarnas laying around, and he asked me for the model number, and I told him that it didn't really matter. I didn't think. I looked at a parts list, and it looked like all those screws were the same, and he had a pile of Husqvarnas setting over there, and he picked it up, and I pointed to the screws that I needed. I think it was either off of might have been a 450 that they came off of, but he just took them right out and sold them to me for $1 a piece. I was happy, he was happy, and I took the screws home, put them in the saw. They worked just fine. If you watched the previous video, you saw too that I was having some issues finding a chain. I went to Tractor Supply, and when I got there, the day that I got there, they were out of the Husqvarna brand chains. So I got their store brand. I think it's their store brand. It's called County Line. I bought that chain, but then when I got home, my saw wouldn't run anyway, right? So I didn't even open that up. And when I went back through town, I went to Tractor Supply, and they had restocked their Husqvarna chains. And this is the one that the parts manual said that I needed. It's an SP33G, and it's 16 inches. So I'm going to put this on here. The chain that's on here now, I don't know what I've done to it, but it cuts very crooked. I've got a little bit of video showing how it cuts crooked, and it cuts that way every time, no matter what you do to it. That's what it wants to do. I've tried sharpening the chain, it just doesn't work out. But if you watch the previous video, when I went into the saw shop, when I went into a local saw shop here, the lady behind the counter was giving me all sorts of grief because I didn't have the numbers off of the bar. The numbers are on the bar, but it's the same numbers that are on the that are in the manual, and the parts list, and the chain fitment guide. Evidently, with a Husqvarna, if you've got the model number and it's got the original bar on it, you should be able to know which chain you need. And this is exactly the chain that they said I needed, which was this SP33G 16 inch. So I am going to attempt now to put this on here, and we're going to see if it really works, or see if we needed all those numbers. I don't know why, because the numbers that are on here are the same numbers that are on the bar. We'll find out. Okay, here's the first cut with the new chain on it. Chain seems to fit. We'll see. Might not get started. I ran it out of fuel just as I started to do this earlier, after I got the chain on it. So it's being cantankerous now. Once again, I'm out of daylight, but I think you can see from those test cuts that the chain was my problem. It's cutting straight now, where before it was going down at an angle. It's cutting straight. The sawdust is much larger chunks, and it really cut right through the logs, through that log over there. And you can really tell I'm not sure anybody else can tell the difference on how long that took, but it cut right through there after changing this. The first cuts I made that you can see took forever to cut through there, and they wouldn't cut straight. Cut right through this big log. I realized that there's some decay on that tree, but it went right on through it. I'm really impressed with it. If you look in that last clip, all that wood was already cut up. A neighbor of mine stopped by and had a saw with him and cut all of that for me, cut it up. Right before I heard him coming up the hill, I had attempted a test cut to do the video with the test cuts, and just as soon as I got on the throttle, it died. It ran out of fuel. So I was fueling up when he came up the hill, and he said he would just help me out with that, and he pulled his saw out and started cutting on it. But now I can cut my own. I'm happy. This is my happy face, in case you can't tell, because of the darkness or whatever. I'm ecstatic.